Another receipt that was kept when he mentioned, because the other people were saying Ice Cube wasn't paying in his films, and he speaks up for Ice Cube.
What you mean, the independent black dude who's filming it partly out of his fucking pocket? What you mean he didn't pay you enough? Hey, weirdo.
Not that he didn't have a fan base. He had already been doing comedy, but like the world at large didn't know him. Local people in his, like where he had toured mostly with him, and people who go to comedy shows, but the world at large didn't know him. Katt, without a doubt, that movie like catapulted him to a different level of success, which he earned, 1, by doing the stand-up beforehand, 2, by auditioning and getting the part, 3, by expanding the role, by being the genius that he was comedically on that set. He's saying, just like I wasn't paid like a great amount, if I got like around $100,000 or so, I think that's what it was.
Well, I made enough to get them teeth fixed just like you did.
Yeah.
So it was no harm, no foul. I knew that I was gonna go from there, and there was no
turning back for Katt Williams.
When you mention those kinds of things, then it's like it makes sense. Now, if other comedians want to say, yeah, I wasn't paid that much, and it's like, well, yeah, but were you a big draw? This was an opportunity for you. This wasn't about you getting paid crazy amount on a shoestring budget movie. This wasn't like produced by, big Hollywood in the same way. But if you were such a small actor at this time and you were having a small role, and Money Mike was a very small role that he expanded dramatically. So maybe he should have got paid a little bit more considering how much the character was expanded. But if I'm just grateful for the opportunity and you guys are expanding my part and not cutting it out like they did to all of Ricky Smiley's parts by his own admission, yeah, I think I'm getting paid appropriately. That's that. This was also corroborated by Ice Cube. Ice Cube came in there and said,
a lot of people are talking about pay and how much they was paid on these movies that were extremely low budget. Most of these guys work a couple of days, and when you're doing a movie, there's over 100 people working on the movie that need to get paid. Most of them got to get paid every day. And there's pre-production and post-production. Even after you finish with the actors, you got to pay editors and sound people. And my movies are all about quality, so most of the money go up on the screen. I'm not giving you no bullshit. I'm not giving you no low budget, shit you can laugh at because it's so cheap. So, we try to put all the money on the screen. And so any actor that's mad at what they got paid, just look at what you was doing. Look at where your career was at the time. Take a look at where it is now.
Then when they start talking about the next Friday, and he's like, yeah, man,
Cube already asked me to write it. I was supposed to have been writing it. This is what these guys are mad about.
They mentioned different people coming on. This is where he says another thing that I disagree with.
The Chris Tucker that we got now is Epstein Island Chris Tucker.
And I don't think that that's fair. Chris Tucker was asked about going to Epstein Island, and he says point blank, no, I never went to the island. We had a benefit that we were doing that was for charity, for children. It was in Africa, and we flew on that plane to go to Africa. And I think when people look at flight logs and then try to determine that somebody was doing something horrible to children, I just don't think that's so spurious, I don't even know where to go. Because you have to realize that when you're dealing with people in that elite circle, very frequently there's going to be mixing in things where it's like, okay, hey, we're doing this benefit, we're flying this way on so-and-so's private jet, and you're okay, we're all doing this together, and I'm in this circle. I'm not about to be like, well, I don't know this guy, and I'm not flying on his jet. I haven't done my research exactly on who this person is and what he offers, so I'm not. No, I'm on the elite circles, and it's just like, okay, yeah, this is your plane that we're doing to go do something for children in Africa. I'm on board. Now, if later on it's determined that this guy is some psycho that has an island with children that are being harmed, I don't know how you can. That's yeah. Look at his response yourself.
Well, that was a humanitarian trip to Africa, and I met him on that trip because it was his plane. I didn't know who plane we was getting on, but it was a whole bunch of dignitary people. We was with a delegation. And yeah, I met him, and you don't know people, what they do in their private lives. So
that doesn't mean, so yeah, that is not enough to give me that Chris Tucker was doing what they were saying. And simply him being on a plane at one point for a charity event is crazy to try to imply that. He mentioned Joe Rogan doesn't want him on his show.
That would be like me being on Joe Rogan. Joe don't want me on there. I need to be on Shannon. Joe got 6 comedians that never been funny.
Joe Rogan has replied and said, yeah, I'd have him on my show. I'm 100% down. And of course he would, because at this point, Katt Williams has been the most successful person. Right? We see the draw that he was. I don't want Katt Williams to go in there. As it stands now, he's an insane draw. And he already said everything he needed to say. What is another platform going to do for you? I think it detracts from what you did for yet another person. He's a very generous man. He told Shannon Sharpe, this is a space that you've created. You created a space for honesty, and you've had these liars on there referring to the other comedians. And he told him,
it's gonna be in a dimension it's never been.
Yeah.
So at this point, I want him to keep his interview on Shannon Sharpe. Don't take this to Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is already incredibly successful. So then now he's talking again, addressing that thing from what Kevin Hart said.
Another fact, a hard fucking fact. Katt Williams did not own all the specials.
So he mentions
the fact that every time I do a tour or a special, you think, well, that's sponsored by somebody. Somebody did a good job. No, just the guy they're kicking around, just the one that might mentally not be all there. He's the one picking the outfits, writing this guy's material, booking the shows, making sure he gets there. He's the one hiring the other comedians.
This is in direct contrast to what Kevin Hart says. And he says,
right now, all this stuff is Googleable, is Google. You can Google it. It's all fucking researchable information.
Any of you guys, Google, find me somewhere where someone else is claiming, hey, no, it's not true that Katt Williams produced his own shows. I mean, it does seem like these shows aren't promoted. When he mentioned, hey, I've done all these specials, you just don't know it because since I own them, then the studios aren't going to pay to produce those things. A lot of times you end up getting distribution deals with someone, with other companies, because otherwise they're not interested. So why would HBO be responsible for the distribution? They already got their views from airing it. Your job is to produce it and to help broadcast. And now here comes the P. Diddy part. Randomly he says,
because P. Diddy be wanting the body, and you gotta tell him no.
Why he say that, bro? Why he say that? This starts dealing with his overarching theme again about how, people turn down the dress.
Go do what you gotta do. When you come back, I'm in your movie. Don't trip. I don't need to see the script or nothing. We get in that office and this fool pull out Big Mama's House 2. I almost died. And I gotta read this script from all these good white people, where this nigga want me to get in a dress with him. And I'm literally saying to everybody, why is he in a dress again? You already played the old lady as an FBI agent. We can play anything now. We can be playing a dog catcher this time. Why do we need to be in a dress? And I get so mad, I say, you don't want me. You want Brandon T. Jackson. And that's who they went and got. Twice I said it, they went and got him. Just like I'm telling you, I had that other dude's work. I had all of it. All I did was say, I want to punch it up so it's not offensive to real niggas. And
that was probably one of the larger points. It was about the other comedians and how they're not as honest as they claim to be and how they've stole work. But again, this is where he starts telling him. He told him because he's aware. He's like he said, he's been on some little finger.
Because in 30 years, I've done nothing but collect information, knowledge, and your secrets. So if you and a man was in a corner doing something you wasn't supposed to be doing,
you will tell it.
No, somebody come to tell me.
Okay.
I gather that. I value that. I'll pay for that. Come, tell me. I know so many things I shouldn't know, and they all know it.
And he knew, and he had been collecting all this information, and he found a platform, which I respect, which was Shannon Sharpe. And he decided, I'm about to go ahead and give him all this information. And he told him it's going to be in a dimension it's never been in before. And I think this reminds me of when, do you guys remember when, who's a snitch? What's that little snitch? Snitch 9. When Snitch 9 went on The Breakfast Club and he said, this is going to be bigger than any interview you guys have done. And it did numbers. He was right. When someone got it, they know they got it. And he mentioned it and it did. It did those numbers. I'm glad he's irrelevant now, but that at the time, he was a draw. He had gotten out of prison after snitching on all those black people and, barely got any time. And he was like fine and living, even though it seemed like there was evidence that he had molested some. It was crazy. But the fact of the matter was he knew that he was enough of a draw. He was paying people to try to create controversy. Those people outed him. Thank you, snitching on him. I think he got his just desserts. I like that. I think in the same sense, Katt knew the draw he was. He knew how much information he had, and he knew what this platform was, and he knew what it was going to be. And it is. He said,
the greatest thing floating in 2024. Mark the words.
They talked about Prince. He gushed over Prince. I thought that was a good thing.
He was just an amazing individual. I was able to meet him when I was 12, and I knew him my entire life through all of his changes. I was able to assist him many times. If you go look at Prince's car collection, you'll see that Prince don't have not one car Katt Williams ain't got. He got the Prowler from Friday After Next sitting there. He got the same Bentley as me, like, because we share certain things. Our connection was lyrics, musical lyrics, women, and cars.
He now claims that his newest Netflix deal is in the 8-figure mark. That means at least 10 million. If you have 12 specials and they're doing so successful and you're this much of a draw, and he is a humongous draw, I think I can understand why Netflix would be willing to pay that. And they also probably don't want to deal with more drama, especially after the Monique situation. I don't see any reason why he's lying. I don't know that Netflix would come forward and admit, but he claims that. And here's where he does something to backtrack something earlier. When he mentioned that Earthquake couldn't read, which is why he couldn't do movies, when Shannon Sharpe says something positive about Earthquake, he says,
special.
Yep, it was 20 minutes long.
It was good too, though.
It was. He's good. Not it was good. He's good.
See,
so it's not like he just hates the guy Earthquake. He didn't have a problem with him, but I think he was just spitting facts.
Because he wasn't able to translate the stand-up to the movie thing,
TV.
He took a hit.
Now he goes in on Steve Harvey to the contrast, who says,
that's why when you hear these dudes talking about, oh, I didn't want to be a movie star, you just know it's disingenuous. Like, what are you talking about, dude? Yeah, oh, no, I just wanted to do a game show.
It's like, you wanted to be a movie star. As you said, you tried to take a part from somebody else. It's just, I think this was a part where it made me happy that he denied this. You clear up the air, because when you're in a spot where you're really kind of upping yourself and someone gives you that credit, you can try to be vague and be like, I help a lot of people, so that people do think you help the Migos. But instead, he just says it point blank. I don't think they've ever been in a place where they needed my help, and no, I didn't, right?
If I was given the opportunity to help them, would I? Of course I would. That's what I do. I'm a pro-black non-racist.
Then Shannon Sharpe, just doing his homework, brings up
comedians would say women would bring them money and not say where it came from.
He goes in the very vague answer where he's just talking about how he employs women.
I believe that other than 4 jobs, I believe that a woman is better at any of them jobs than any man could be.
People say that they want to try to catch him in lies. A bevy of comedians have came forward expressing specifically that they were doing shows for Katt Williams and they were getting paid large amounts of money, much more than they were supposed to get, just because he was generous like that. Then Boosie came out with a video. So now you have that Boosie video. With that many people coming forward, this reminds me of my situation with Arturo, where I ended up needing to clear his name, and then Justin Wong and DeKill Sage and Ryan Hart and all of these prolific figures from all of these different people within the fighting game community from these different scenes all start saying, I've worked with Arturo for X amount of time and he's always done right by him. And sometimes that's the vindication you need, especially when you have people who are attacking or besmirching your character. You need someone to be able to say, nah, I've worked with them, especially when they're reputable people. And when you have all of these comedians come forward and make these statements, it starts sounding like, wait a minute, so you might actually be who they say you are. You might be the real deal. There's your receipt. And again, when I've done this for years and it's never been talked about until now, until there was a moment where it needed to be talked about and all the receipts are there, I don't know, man. So people were saying, well, where's the evidence that, he was homeless, or what are you talking about with all of these claims? And it's like, wait a minute. He convinced the New York Post. The New York Post posted articles talking about him being homeless and about him getting into college 12 years old and all of these things and having scholarships and all of this kind of information in his IQ and all. So if Katt Williams lied about that, he's the greatest liar of all time, because there were articles as old as 10 years ago that mentioned this from reputable news sources. So he must have told these stories in advance 10 years ago, left them there as plants so that he could go ahead and sit on it, become a controversial figure, then go into this interview and make these claims. So then people would start fact checking him. Then they'd have these reputable sources. That's too much work, man. I can't give nobody that credit. And if he is lying and he did all that work, he is a genius, a pathological genius. Because who can put in that much work? One of my things that he was talking about, again, part of his main point was when he's talking about these comedians helping him, he mentions,
wouldn't it be nice if somebody just showed up and gave him a little blessing? And he didn't have to suck me off for it. And thanks, Katt. And boy, I really needed it.
Again, that's part of that main overarching theme. Look, in the same way how I mentioned in the previous videos that the main themes were these things, I would say in this video, the main theme was, 1, I'm a successful comedian, I'm rich, and I'm being able to do what I want to do. And I've done it without playing to the Hollywood machine. And he says,
So when it come full circle, and I'm
You're
one
in a
of the
position.
I'm one of the richest men that ever lived. And I don't mean, please don't look at my net worth. I saw my net worth. I had that on me.
that is the overarching theme. It's about the idea that Hollywood tries to emasculate, steal from, do all of these things to make you play their game. He chose not to play that game. And as a result of that, he found the success that he had. Being a musician, I've been in circles and I've been in positions where people have tried to make me do things to completely violate my entire character. Those who know me personally know what I'm about, know what I've been asked to do. I still have audio evidence of those things where they're literally trying to make me violate things that I know in a million years I would never do, that go against the very character of who I am and everything I stand for. Very successful people. And when I told those people no in those situations, I knew at that point, I'll never work with this person again. Tried to do it as passively as I possibly could. So I understand what it's like when people offer you the bag in exchange for you compromising on your character. Never asked me to do any gay stuff, but they were asking me to do evil stuff that I knew I wouldn't want to do. I think his thing was, it resonated with me when he said, I wanted to go ahead and make it as far as I could. When he said what he said about,
My goal was to get this far in Hollywood and still have a virgin asshole.
it kind of resonated. So when we hear these claims in Hollywood, again, this is conspiracy stuff. I don't know how much of it is true. The last thing that I'll talk about in this is one of my favorite parts. I'm just going to play it for you.
I look at it, I got it. That's how Diddy be feeling.
So overall, the whole point of this was to say that I do think Katt Williams does seem like he's a person of integrity and speaks mostly from a place of honesty. People were claiming when he was talking about running a 4.4, they said that wasn't true. Then a video came out of him running particularly fast. It shows a 4.47, but I don't know that that's actually what that was. Because one, we didn't see the entire video ourselves. Two, if he's running just the length of a basketball court, it's only 30 yards. Three, if this isn't official, then we don't know. But the fact of the matter is, he's demonstrating that he is still in particularly good shape. That was the point of doing that video. So almost everything that he's claimed so far has been validated. When he talks about his Netflix deal, Netflix will come out and say if it's not true. When he talks about all of these tours, I looked it up, and he has an insane amount of tours. When he talks about his specials, I can list them. Let a Play, Pimp Chronicles, Katt Williams' American Hustle, It's Pimpin', Pimpadelic, Kattpocalypse, Priceless Afterlife, Katt Williams' Great America. I think World War III is now coming out. It came out in 2022. So he does have a great, and I don't think that's the exhaustive list of all of his specials. That's most of them. So he does have a lot of those things. And it's really insane because everything that Kevin Hart was saying.
Right now, all this stuff is Googleable, is Google. You can Google it. It's all fucking researchable information.
We can't fact check because if I don't go through the same channels as everyone else, then you're not going to be able to trace that. Just the same way how we have Forbes list. Do you think Forbes list is exhaustive? Do you not know that there are so many people who are wealthy outside of the Forbes list? The top 1% of the 1%, some of those elites, some of those families, we don't have them on Forbes list. Remember when all that whole thing was outed about all those Hollywood celebrities who were hiding all their money overseas and all that stuff got outed and then we just kind of just stopped talking about it? When you start looking at it, and then Katt Williams himself says, I'm under IRS investigation. I'm broke. So if I'm producing everything myself, I'm hiring all of those people. If I'm the one that's like getting paid my ticket sales and my venue sales and all these things are deals and contracts that like aren't going to the public, then yeah, I'm not part of the machine. Forbes isn't going to be checking for me. Do I think he is as successful as he claims to be? Maybe. I don't know. But we do know he is a particularly beloved and successful comedian. We do know that he wasn't lying about some of these things as far as people stealing these jokes. That's been vindicated. We do know that Ricky Smiley wasn't originally offered the role of Money Mike. We do know that he has been putting money in the pockets of all of these people that were in need just to be generous. We do know that he does have the most stand-up specials of any person. So much of this stuff was vindicated. At the end of the day, I hope you guys see all these receipts. There will be more. Kevin Hart responded and it was more or less just, fact check him. Ultimately, I wasn't the biggest fan of Katt Williams. I still have not watched the vast majority of his work. To be honest with you, Dave Chappelle is my favorite stand-up comedian. When my brother and I were having a conversation about Katt Williams and he told me, yeah, he thinks Katt Williams is particularly funny. And I was like, I don't know. I don't think so. So he said, all right, we'll just put on one of his specials. And he puts one on. Let's see if it's funny. We laughed throughout the entire thing. And I said, I'll give it to you. That was a very funny special. I need to watch more. I don't know. I wasn't familiar with him. I doubt he'll ever top Dave Chappelle for me personally. Now, my brother, Johan, is one of the funniest people I've ever met. He's one of the funniest people I know in real life. His favorite comedian is Katt Williams. Obviously, Dave Chappelle is a particularly cerebral comedian. I consider myself to be a pretty cerebral person. So then it makes all the sense in the world that Dave Chappelle would be. No one can take from the fact that Katt Williams is clearly a force to be reckoned with. This will probably go on to be the largest viewed interview in the world. And with this much scrutiny, let's look and see if anybody can find receipts of things that he said that aren't true. Ice Cube claims that the rape scene in Friday After Next isn't true. That's one. Tiffany Haddish wasn't married to a white man. That wasn't true. We'll see. The receipts will keep coming and they'll speak for themselves. We're waiting on the fact checks. And it seems like all the fact checks have validated him. I don't know. Are there any receipts that I'm missing? You guys tell me. Tell me anything that I'm missing in this video. Any receipts, anything that he said that has been a lie. And I'll find the receipt for you. And I'll reply it directly to you, or I'll make another video about it. Until then, you know where to find me. Let me know if this is one of the longer videos that I've done. Tell me if this is the kind of stuff that you'd be interested in, or if you'd rather I keep it super duper short. I just wanted an exhaustive one-stop shop so that we can see all of the things that he talked about and see how much of what he was saying is true, as opposed to just finding hit or miss little clips here and there. Peace.